riding the bike to his foreign garb, burning his mind in his VCR, reluctant to find he's stuck in the 90s again. Reluctant to find he's stuck in the 90s again. And he's lost. Don't you know what it's like to be lost and older? Tears on his shoulder. Real men are bolder.
It's quite chilly in merry old London. What does every good chili have? Beans!
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 So we're trying something a little different this time around, and we're going live action. But I'd still say that this is a 90s classic and is good for kids and adults, people of all ages.
Yeah.
This is Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean.
Everyone's favorite Rowan Atkinson is driving along in his little car.
Yes, he's going off to do some Christmas shopping.
He parks on the sidewalk. Not even in a parking spot, he just parks on like a median. Half on the sidewalk, and he just hops out of his car.
So, yes, Mr. Bean goes on his merry misadventures. He's Christmas shopping, buying ornaments.
He wants to try to figure out what the best ornament for his, I presume, his tree is going to be. And so what better way to test the ornament than to see how they deal with being accelerated at, 9 meters per second squared.
And also he needs to check out his Christmas lights. So he unplugs some lights.
Literally the entire
block or the entire building, the Christmas lights go out, and his lights are working just fine.
At least he was nice enough to plug it back in.
That's true. He could have just walked away.
I love that he just finds random things, just unplug that. Like, how did you know that wasn't for someone's like defibrillator or like respirator or something?
Yeah, because hospitals notoriously connected to shopping centers
or something. Some kind of important piece of equipment.
But I do like that. But that could be a funny joke too.
Some dude's like laying in bed with like an artificial, and then like dee 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 dee.
Oh yeah, sure is.
Tests his lights. He's like, okay, cool. Then he just plugs it back in. He's like, oh, I can breathe again.
Yeah. So he also winds up there's a whole bit where he's goofing off with a nativity scene. Definitely like that little comic bit alone. Like you don't need any context around it. It's just great. Oh yeah, and he has a little bit of fun with conducting a little band outside.
Turning it up, turning it down. He catches a kid who is trying to pickpockets.
Little pickpocket. Oliver Twist and knocking all the things that he stole.
Yeah, takes them all and like fills up the entire donation bin. Gives it back to the conductor. He runs into his girlfriend, who she's looking at wedding bands, and she like points at it. She's kind of hinting
She does go
towards
for
him.
a pretty like big ring. Like she wanted something fancy.
And then Bean's like, "Oh, I see. I know what you want." And then she's like, "Oh, yay!" And he goes in the store.
But of course, the piece de resistance, the main feature, if you will, is Bean in his apartment getting ready for Christmas. And he gets ready for Christmas. He sends himself some lovely cards.
Yeah, that he hangs.
And he gets stockings out for himself, Teddy, and a little dormouse. And he gets a visit from some carolers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
First he tries to watch TV, but it's all war movies. He doesn't like it.
Yeah, I guess Britain plays a lot of war movies on Christmas time.
So he opens the doors. Carolers are there, singing their hearts out. So the Bean turns his chair around, drinks his cognac or brandy or whatever.
Yeah.
Eats some chocolate, and about 15 seconds in decides he's tired and slams the door on their face.
It's beautiful.
He's not really up on social graces, is he?
No, not at all. He wakes up the next day. It's Christmas morning. He's very excited.
He's making a turkey.
He's
enormous.
Huge. And then he loses his watch in it, and so goes in to look for it. The turkey ends up on his head. His girlfriend finally comes over, terrifies her because he's got a saw
And a turkey head.
and a turkey head. And then they get it off. And also he gives her a picture instead of the ring.
He didn't quite understand.
No.
And then he pulls out the box. She's like, oh, the main part.
Very excited. And it's a little hook for her so she can hang it at the ceiling, on the wall, all kinds
Anywhere,
of places.
like you can hang it anywhere. He's so excited. And he's so happy for her. And then she runs off. And that's it.
And that's, yeah, the bittersweet ending, mostly bitter, a sweet ending of Merry Christmas, Mr.
Bitter for her.
Yeah.
He had the time of his life.
Yeah, he actually doesn't seem actually that bothered at all. He's a little disappointed, I'd say. He's like, kind of confused. He's like, what did I do? I don't understand. What do you think of Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean? Have you seen this one before?
No.
No, it was the first time. Excellent.
I barely watched Mr. Bean when I was younger. I actually thought there was quite a few more episodes than there were. I thought it was a whole series.
Yeah, well, that's one of the amazing things about Mr. Bean is that it will be this huge international phenomenon, but there's not that many episodes. There's only like 14, which is very British. Their seasons are usually like 6 episodes long. Unless it's their soap operas, then they just keep going and going and going forever.
Yeah, like Doctor Who.
What did you think?
Can I be totally honest? Aside from some of like the really funny parts, like him conducting the band, kind of depressing.
Okay.
I mean, Rocky's apartment was nicer than that. I don't know, there's something kind of depressing about it. I mean, I love that he's having the time of his life. Okay. No matter where he goes. He's just undeterred, but he just doesn't get it.
No, he's completely clueless. Yeah, the character in a nutshell is that he doesn't get it. Whatever social functions are working in most of us, they're not working in him as well.
Not even close.
He's like a little kid. And he's extremely impulsive, extremely selfish, and a brat. And just loves kind of messing with people. One thing I noticed when you were watching is you were at least appreciating Rowan Atkinson's like his acting choices.
His choices are just so wonderful. I don't know if that's like a good director or just him being a good actor or like a mixture of both. Or the writer, right? Like, how do you write someone like this? How do you conceptualize that? And he does this with his fingers, and then he seems really pleased with himself no matter what. Like, all those little choices where he does something and he's super pleased with it. And he wants to check to see if anybody else notices, and no one else does most of the time. That doesn't bug him, because he's still happy with it, and then he forgets the fact that nobody's watching, and he just continues on his merry way. Like, ooh, like the little grunts and everything. Just wonderful. He's in his own apartment, and he's just like,
He talks with his teddy bear. He made his teddy bear a little stocking and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my time with Mr. Bean, I've been a little bit back and forth. I used to love Mr. Bean as a little kid. I totally understood what he was doing because we were essentially intellectual peers. As I got a little older, I got a little more jaded because Mr. Bean wasn't like fresh and cool anymore, and it was just like I'm like, whatever, like it's kind of an immature style of humor, like it's a very like base level, lowest common denominator almost. And then I got a little older again, and I just watched him again with kind of a more fresh point of view, and just realized the genius of it all. Of the fact that Mr. Bean is such a physical character. Like, you don't need to, he talks a little bit, but you don't need to speak any English to understand all the comedy. It's so physical, and it's so like just so universal that like there really is something quite brilliant about Mr. Bean, which is why I think it is the international, or was the international phenomenon that it was. And even still, people know what you're talking about when you're talking about Mr. Bean. Everyone gets the humor. Whether or not you like it is up to you, obviously. I do know a lot of people who don't like Mr. Bean, and that's totally fine. Like, I get why it isn't everyone's cup of tea. But I just really got to appreciate it. Even more so today, as you were mentioning, I'm so used to the character of Mr. Bean, I kind of forgot. You're right. All the things he does are acting choices. And like these are moments that he's decided on to maximize the comedy out of every moment. And he does such a great job at it. To the point, like, again, when I was a kid, I didn't know Rowan Atkinson sounded like Rowan Atkinson. I knew Rowan Atkinson and Mr. Bean. I knew Mr. Bean. I didn't know... It wasn't until I started watching some of his other things, like Blackadder and Thin Blue Line, and most of his stuff is very like witty dialogue and stuff like that. So Mr. Bean is almost like counter to the other stuff that he was known for.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
But that's just like good English comedic programming is just, it's really good witty dialogue.
Yeah.
They're on a different level down there.
it's a different kind of thing, and I love it. I love British humor.
But then here they are, British humor.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I think it transcended England and people who like English comedies became something much more.
You notice like there's also like a major skill to what he does too, because the technical side, he can't have a private moment with a character here. He has to play it out here so the camera sees him. There's never like a shot where you don't see him making his little faces and stuff. So on a technical side as well, my hat's off to him too.
There's just tons of like golden stuff in this episode, and
Like the little Christmas ornament.
just like the little Christmas ornament. I mean, I feel like maybe my commentary is mostly of Mr. Bean as a whole, but I think that most of my notes just kind of apply to this episode. Is that there's a lot of very funny.
Well, what would you give it out of 5?
So we are going to give Merry Christmas, Mr. Bean 4.5 out of 5 noisy nativity scenes. You know if Mr. Bean's your kind of thing, if it's your jam, let us know in the comments down below.
Ooh.
So thank you so much for joining us on this amazing Christmas adventure, a nostalgic trip through the 90s Christmas specials.
It gave me a reason to dust off my punch buggy, which was nice.
And hey, maybe we'll do this again another year. I don't know about you. I know I had a fun time watching all these
Me too.
these classics.
It was nice seeing what the world was like back in the 90s. Things have changed, but they're still quite the same. I mean, we're still living in houses. Cars, aside from mine, don't fly. Television.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, everybody. Have a good one. We're going back to the future.
Back in time.
Whoops.